Okay, it's looking like we are ready to start here. What's going on, everyone, and welcome to the latest edition of the Xbox Roundtable Podcast. This is show number 243, the best place on Sunday nights for Xbox talk and more from around the game industry. Naturally, this is Invader, your host for the evening, and there's been all kinds of news from the past week. Not sure if we'll be able to cover everything, as I know today there was a massive leak of epic proportions, but again, we'll try and give everything a go from the past week. Let's see, we're definitely going to touch on Bonnie Ross. She announced that she'll be leaving 343 Industries, as multiple people will be taking up her responsibilities. As well, both PlayStation and Nintendo had live streams. We'll cover that, along with the big GoldenEye news. Also, news from the Tokyo Game Show, we'll get into all that stuff. So yeah, lots of things on the docket tonight. But first things first, though, let me introduce everybody. And with us tonight is a familiar face, everybody's favorite downer, Jeremy. Buddy, how you been?
Dude, I've been well. It's been a long time coming. And it's definitely been forever. I mean, I see the podcast is doing well, which is great. But I think since I left the podcast up until now, been going through like a little bit of midlife crisis, man. I've lost weight, I eat better, I exercise, got a freaking tattoo, and I just find myself doing less and less of gaming, which, obviously a part of that is I'm out of the culture, or not in the culture as much, but it's good to hear from you guys, man. The podcast is in good hands. You still got Centurion here, you got Timmy here still, even though he's not here physically. But you got Shockley, and you got two terrific cast members, Crusader and General MLD.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, again, familiar faces and new, Jeremy. And, I mean, you say in midlife crisis, have you bought a nice sports car as well?
Well, you can't buy a sports car and fit the whole family in, but, I mean, it hasn't crossed my mind. No, but it has crossed my mind.
Being up in Montana, I'm pretty sure you went and got a big ass truck that just holds them all, right?
No. I did get a family vehicle though, but yeah, it's another story to tell.
All right, good stuff, Jeremy. Can't wait to hear your thoughts in a minute, but always great talking to you. Let's see, going down the list here. I will start with Centurion. Buddy, how you been the past week?
I've been doing great. Kind of just figuring out the work-life balance, trying to find time for gaming. Finally finished up the whole Sherlock Holmes trilogy. That was actually a really fun little go-through for those 3 games. Continuing to try to get back into Destiny. Almost done with Shadowkeep. Gonna move on to Beyond Light. And just, yeah, still haven't been able to play with Crusader, though. I think he just works a lot more than I am lately.
Listen. I haven't been messaged. You message me, we'll be on.
True. Okay, true. I don't know. I don't know. I'm a little measly, like a little 154. So, I mean, 1544. So I'm just like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to like really do anything per se yet. I'm not too sure. Do I have a strong enough light level to even do raids with you guys?
You can do every raid except for Kingsfall.
See, I'm just still trying to get in the... Man, I still find myself just trying to make my weekly contribution to the clan.
All right. Well, yeah, you guys can definitely work that out. I know, again, all these Destiny fans here, I don't blame you guys. That's the crack that keeps on giving, and I know I should probably get back into that.
Dude, I'm going to tell you right now, Destiny is the only game where you can shoot something's head off and there's sparkles.
Do you guys... I've been hearing for a year now, you guys procrastinate about Destiny. You say you're going to get into it, but never do.
Oh, that's not me.
I was going to say, I was into Destiny for a little while, but I got out of it because they created this really jacked up concept called sunsetting, but Crusader talked me off that cliff because, I mean, like, I didn't have anything. Yeah, I had nothing to do with Destiny for about a year, maybe longer.
Yeah, well, hey, now's a good time. You got some hardcore Destiny guys on the panel, so time to give another go. But yeah, let's see. Who else do we got here? General MLD, buddy. Hey, how you been?
Oh yeah, having a pretty good week. Lots to talk about. This industry is getting crazier by the gen. Myself, just been really getting into Yakuza Like a Dragon. It's my first Yakuza game ever played. I am really enjoying myself. This game is just so wacky. I love it.
Isn't that a great game? That's a great game.
Like, yeah, it is. Like, I'm on chapter 5 right now. Like, the story, it's getting better and better the more I'm getting hooked on it. Like, damn,
yeah,
I'm impressed.
Yeah, the characters are great. That's actually the first game I've ever heard Tim finish, ever in the history of gaming. That's the first game I've ever heard him finish.
Oh yeah, because like I'm a JRPG old school turn-based kind of guy, and people tell me this is like the only turn-based game in the series. Okay, it's on Game Pass. I gotta give it a shot, and yeah, I don't regret it one bit. I'm gonna see this game through.
All right,
I highly recommend it.
Yeah, now that's a game that I do have on my backlog that I do need to start because I have it installed. There's really no excuse, just I haven't played it for some reason, but that's why they call it the backlog, right?
Invader, I was reading
a 50-hour game though, so just keep that in mind.
Sorry to interrupt, but I was reading Ice Cold's comment. Oh, he can't get it up because he's going through that midlife crisis. Believe me, buddy, that's not a problem yet.
He clarified though, he was just kidding, but yes.
No, I know.
But good to know, Jeremy. Thanks for alleviating that for us. But yeah, Yakuza, that's pretty cool. Moving on down the list here, Eric Shockley, buddy. Hey, how's things at your end?
Good. Yeah, just been playing a few smaller titles. There's this one called Disc Room that's on Game Pass. It's kind of I was trying to find some things to get those Microsoft points and to meet the weekly criteria before the time runs out. So always have to find some new games for some new achievements so I don't lose all that progress. But yeah, it's this cool kind of like it's kind of like that like hand-drawn like art, kind of like the old like South Park cartoons, but it's basically like you're this guy that has to go through these rooms and there's all these different razor discs that it's kind of like a puzzle game because you have to use your reaction time, kind of like a Hotline Miami or something like that. And then you'll absorb certain powers when you're going through this like Zelda like old Zelda like 2D like maze. But it's pretty cool. It definitely gets difficult because there's so many things coming at you in the room when you're trying to dodge, and it will give you quick timers where it's like last like 20 seconds, and you can kind of beat your old stats. But it's cool because when you die, it's like you're instantly right back in, which is cool for some of those high difficulty.
Shock, are you still dabbling in the emulators?
Yeah, I mean with mostly I won't use like emulation, but I'll like actually have the actual hardware where I basically put in like the like EverDrive or whatever into my actual console. So if it's a SNES, I'll have the EverDrive to go into that or whatever. Pretty much all the retro consoles like retrofitted like that. So I can it's GameCube, I have it, so I can just put an SD card in instead of I took out the disk drive, so I put in the SD card and play the whole library. So
nice.
From the actual, so it's not emulation technically. So.
But anyway, I miss you too, buddy. It's good to hear from you, and I know we chat a little bit on Facebook, but good to hear from you, man.
Oh yeah, same to you.
Yes, I'm loving the love here. It's great. It's great. Again, it's great to have the downer back.
It's all love, baby. It's all love.
All love. I agree, my friend. And last but certainly not least here, we got Crusader. Buddy, I know you've had a pretty busy day, but otherwise, how's things?
Oh, it's been good. Played Metal Hellsinger this week. I don't know if anyone else has seen that. It's like a Doom-like rhythm game that like every part of the soundtrack, they had like a different metal band come in and like assist with the songs, and like it's fantastic. It's fantastic. And other than that, I've been playing my usual Destiny, Fortnite, various random stuff on Game Pass and PS Plus Extra. But yeah, today was really busy. We're not going to talk about it too much on this show. But for those of you who haven't seen, GTA 6 had a massive leak. Massive. And we have too much news to cover it today, and it's kind of still, the news is still kind of slowly trickling out, so best not to cover it today.
Yeah, there has been a lot trickling out, and probably more the next couple of days. Yeah, we'll just see how things progress throughout the week.
We're actually taking the thread down right now on Gaming Leaks and Rumors because we're afraid that it's going to get hit with the DMCA.
Yeah, no, smart move. I have seen a lot of hits going on there. And, all right. Guys, Timmy should be showing up at some point. I know he's doing something, but believe me, he's going to chime in at some point. Otherwise, just before we kick things off, quick reminder to share this out, let everybody know we're live. And, hey, if you're in the chat, certainly give us a like, as it is very much appreciated and it helps out the show. And it's great to see you all here in the chat and all the listeners. Always appreciate you guys. Moving on, though, to the first topic, and I gotta say it's a big one, or one of the big ones from the past week. Earlier, like a Monday, Tuesday, something like that, head of 343 Industries, Bonnie Ross, announced that she is leaving the studio to attend to a family medical issue. She's been the studio head for roughly, 15 years, something like that, since its inception. And, she's been through 3 mainline Halo games, 4, 5, and now Infinite, as well as, a bunch of the side ones. Now multiple people have been moved in to take on her roles. There is lots to dissect and discuss here, and I can't wait to get everybody's views. Jeremy, bud, hey, you know what? I'll kick things off with you. What do you think of Bonnie Ross stepping down from 343 Industries?
Whenever you're the head of a huge company like 343, I would imagine that it takes like an incredible hold on, personal life in general, but in many ways, it kind of consumes you. I mean, you look at all the stuff that goes on Twitter and stuff like that. But for those of you that had significant leadership roles, you understand how much time and energy and commitment it takes. I know on a much smaller scale because of work, when I was in California. But so now imagine like 15 years later, with over 500 employees, then sometimes people just need to take a step back, and concentrate on what matters to them most, which is family, and could be friends. And we don't know what Bonnie's going through, but I wish her the best. I've met Bonnie on multiple occasions, and I can tell you, she is the most down to earth and incredible person you can ever ask. Running a video game company. She's smart. She's a powerful woman in the industry, and she's going to be missed. But however, I do think someone else needs to helm the Halo franchise. In my personal opinion, Halo, from a gamer's perspective, hasn't come close to reaching its apex it once was, and you guys know the games before it. Just in terms of like the direction of the series, even Halo Infinite, even though it was a good game, at this stage, it still can't compete with, like today's upper echelon games. And I'm going to use Santa Monica Studios, for example. 343 had almost double its employees, infinite resources, no pun intended, but yet it could deliver probably about, a more memorable experience than Halo ever was. Like God of War. They make God of War. Surprise, surprise. You've heard how Halo Infinite went through development hell. So did God of War. But, with one coming together at the last minute, to create an experience that to this day still has yet to be matched by Xbox, in my opinion. And that game is obviously God of War. So hopefully the new leadership can take Halo in a new direction. I'm looking forward to it, and kind of return back the series to what it once was. From a gamer's perspective, of course. But as for the rumors, if Xbox Studios was involved, who knows? Some of that stuff you got to take with a grain of salt. Some of it, there could be some lift to it, and you see other people leave, and you see the departures before that. Some of that has some lift, and some of that's probably true. So it's going to be interesting how Halo takes shape after the departure of Bonnie. So, yeah.
All right. Yeah, no, that's some pretty good insight there, Jeremy. Because, funny enough, I was going to bring that up because, again, some people from the panel met her. Again, I'm not sure if Tim has, but I know you had in the past, and you would always gave Bonnie Ross raving reviews. She sounded like a really nice person to meet. So
yeah, I'll send you guys a couple of pictures I have with me and her together. But I mean, she's a great person, and I don't know her personally, but from what I did get a chance to meet her and talk to her on several occasions. I mean, she's awesome.
No, it's very interesting, with some firsthand knowledge of her anyways. But yeah, I mean, I would love to have a sit-down chat with her as well. Curious about other panel members' thoughts, though. General MLD, I'll hit you up first. I mean, I know you're a big Halo guy, and we've gone back and forth about, the state of Halo on the show. What do you think about this move? Do you, agree with what Downer's saying? Please add on to this.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So I have to preface by saying Halo is my favorite IP. I love the lore, and I've been very patient with Halo Infinite. I've always given them the benefit of the doubt since Bonnie and 343 took over. So I'm just gonna say that before getting into what I'm gonna say now. So obviously this has nothing to do with who she is as a person. Everyone says she's very nice. I wish her all the best with her family, with the family emergency. This is not about that. So it feels like she was going to leave sooner or later anyway. So best of luck with that. All that said, though, I think we can all agree that 343 needs a bit of a change. And I think... wait, sorry?
Agreed, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think this was the delayed roadmap. I think that was the last straw. Because I mean, they wanted this game to be like their version of Destiny, and I think it could have got that, but they just are too slow. 343. The one criticism I do say of 343 for the longest time, they cannot meet a deadline to save their lives.
And General, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but again, you have double the employees of what Santa Monica has, almost double the employees. Yet you still can't meet those deadlines. I mean, it's just crazy to me.
Exactly. Yeah, I know. So I mean, MCC it launched a bit buggy. It had to take years for it to get better. Halo 5 launched incomplete, but Halo 5 content roadmap, that game filled up quickly. Within a year, that game was practically as complete as people could have expected. So Halo 5 rebounded pretty quickly. So what's happening here? I think the reason why is because the Slipspace engine guy, he also left the company. I personally have a hunch that is the reason why. We thought that this was a fresh start, Slipspace engine, brand new engine, optimized for Halo, this and that. It got us all pretty hyped and hopeful for the future. But I think it is a nightmare to code for, as we are obviously seeing. Again, this is so slow compared to Halo 5's post-launch roadmap. I think the engine is by far the biggest problem, and they're trying to get this thing to be optimized. At the same time, they're trying to catch up on things that they're already behind on. It just seems like a mess. And I guess Bonnie Ross, I guess she's at the top of all this. I guess she wasn't. Who knows? I'm not on the inside. but it clearly got to a certain point where, hey, enough's enough. Like we got to change things around. So
Yeah,
this,
I mean, you'd agree that Slipspace, it's new tech, obviously, so obviously they're gonna have problems with it. But I don't know, at what point does it become almost burdensome to the team? You know, it's just, I don't know.
yeah. It's just a matter of like, what are they gonna do now? Like, are they gonna cut their losses, or are they gonna just keep going? I mean, I'm still hopeful. I mean, this could be like Rainbow Six Siege. That game launched like people didn't really like it at first, but it got better. It got popular again. I'm feeling like Halo Infinite could still get that, and if Forge looks pretty promising, we'll see about that. But they gotta launch custom games browser with that too, you know, to make it all really complete. I hope that by the time it does all come together, it won't be already too late, because I mean, a lot of players already did move on, but I hope something can be salvaged. And I guess the point of what I'm trying to say is that this is at least the first step, because Bonnie Ross's role was replaced by 3 people. And to me, that's a good thing, because you have 3 different perspectives. Yeah, like 3 different people that will be on the workers, making sure that they're getting deadlines done. And yeah, I mean, if one person couldn't do all the responsibility properly, then maybe 3 can. 3 can ease the load for each other, and hopefully that'll make it all better. So I hope they figure it out. But I mean, if the engine is a wash, I say just ditch it. Like, just try. Xbox owns so many in-house development engines now with Bethesda and soon Activision Blizzard. Just pick an engine there. Whatever's easy. Just speed things up. I know they can speed it up, but the engine has to facilitate that. So I hope they figure their stuff out soon.
Mm-hmm. No, that's an interesting perspective there, MLD. I mean, I do agree with a lot of the points that you made, yeah, I mean, the thing is, I mean, it's basically the same engine. It just tweaked. They just gave it like a new name, pretty much, from my understanding, anyways. But I don't know. Obviously, those tweaks. Again, apparently, there has been a lot of issues behind the scenes with Slipspace for whatever reason, adjusting to the open world and so on. I see somebody sneaked into the chat here. Tim Dog, buddy, what's up, brother?
Listen, you're gonna have to deal with shitty audio because I'm driving from my friend's party home. But I had to come on. It's Jeremy Downer. Happy to be here and love that he's here.
What's up, Bubba? I know you have shitty audio, but it's good to hear from you.
Yeah, well, I had to come to see you, so glad you made it. Hopefully
How about your Mets, baby? How about those Mets? You think they have a shot?
Good. Yes, sir. We'll talk about that another time now. Let's talk Xbox and don't be such a stranger.
All right, baby.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, for sure, Timmy, for sure. Let's see. I'll get somebody else here. Centurion Pal. I mean, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Do you agree with what Downer and MLD have been saying, or do you have another perspective on this? Because I mean, this is a big move. Not just for 343, but for Xbox Game Studios.
I have a perspective. I do agree with Downer. I agree with MLD. This is something that was probably already in the works. We've heard rumors that there was going to be a management restructure anyways. Maybe the family medical crisis over with Bonnie Ross facilitated in making that happen a lot quicker than she thought it would. She did say she did have a plan to stay longer than she is now, but from the statement she made it sound like she knew she was leaving soon. She just didn't think it was going to be this soon, and a family sickness facilitated that. But I mean, like, it's kind of interesting. Like, when you listen to like what Hogue Law talked about, he said when you saw the problems over at BioWare during the Anthem kerfluffle, we saw them scrambling and flying people in from different departments of EA to handle the fact that there was nobody lined up for these roles. Microsoft had people lined up. They knew who they wanted to take these roles. And this is where, at least with my statement with Bonnie Ross comes in. I know everybody keeps bringing up Bungie back in the day with Halo. I'm not trying to be a blunt asshole, but I'm going to be. Bungie abandoned Halo for greener pastures. They wanted to go chase games as a service with Destiny and that Activision money, because that's who they signed up with to create Destiny. They completely abandoned the Halo fan base. For some reason, the Halo fan base, it glorifies, idolizes Bungie, the group of individuals that completely abandoned the franchise, sold the carcass to Microsoft, and rode off into the sunset to go chase that Destiny train. Bonnie Ross was one of the individuals who sat down with an executive team over at Microsoft that thought Halo was on the decline. They didn't want to invest very much into Halo. Bonnie Ross convinced them otherwise. Bonnie Ross was able to keep the Halo franchise still in the limelight of for basically to keep Microsoft to keep pumping money into Halo. Now, don't get me wrong. This is probably a good thing for 343. Maybe she wasn't exactly the most perfect fit for the role, but at least she wanted to take that on. She even made comments saying she wanted to be like George Lucas was with Star Wars before it got sold off. She wanted it to be her baby. So, the fact that she wanted that, yes, you get all the glory that comes with making it successful, and you also get all the pitfalls of it falling flat on its face. And that's part of being in a leadership position is, when things are great, you look great. When things are bad, you really look bad. It's just, for me though, it's the fact that it's almost like now that Bonnie Ross is gone, we have all the people, the midgets of like the Wizard of Oz dancing around the damn town screaming, "The Wicked Witch is dead. The Wicked Witch is dead." Like Bonnie Ross did her best to the best of her abilities. Maybe she took on way too much. Literally, let's look at it. Her position is being divided amongst 3 people. So maybe she allowed herself to be stretched too thin, or maybe I like how everybody wants to also put the blame on Bonnie Ross for, she's the leader. Well, technically, Bonnie Ross also has the people she has to answer to. What about the responsibility they shared in not basic? Maybe I'm not trying to say nothing about Matt Booty, but maybe Matt Booty put way too many responsibilities on Bonnie Ross.
Well, you know what, Centurion, you and I both know when you're a leader with that kind of stature and pull, you have to take the brunt of everything. That's the way it works. It's just
that's where it's just but that's where I look at it from a grander scheme of things, because 343, it's not like Bonnie Ross owned 343.
No.
Bonnie Ross had the people she had to answer to. How do we know that Bonnie Ross wasn't being micromanaged into the ground by people that behind the scenes by other Microsoft executives? We don't really know.
If you look at the project, she was basically dabbling in everything. She was dabbling with the TV series. You can go on and on. So maybe she was stretching her hand too thin, and she couldn't. Go ahead.
I was going to say, we don't have the ability to ask Bonnie Ross, hey, was this your idea to take on all these projects and you decided to drown yourself? Or by some chance, was this suggestions from your upper management? Hey, you should do this. Oh, at the same time, do that. I'm not trying to be that guy, but, I do know what it's like to work in a corporate world. And sometimes certain corporate businesses like to shovel more work on you than one person is able to manage. And that's where you got to prioritize, this is more important than that. But this is where I just don't think that Bonnie Ross needs to be considered like the wicked witch that destroyed Halo. There is a lot of litigating factors that are working against Halo. I like how General MLD touched on the Slipspace engine. We're also talking about trying to take a very linear game that had a very linear single player experience that didn't have the type of multiplayer experience that they're aiming for now, and it's now also open world. We've seen Halo take a giant leap in the direction of the game design, and this is where I've said that developers should be allowed to have a failure at hey, we tried, we failed, but we should move on.
I would disagree with you on game design. You could say the gameplay is tight. It's tight as butter. It's probably the best gameplay you can ask in a first-person shooter. However, as far as game design goes, you could say it's worse. I mean, just by the simple fact that it didn't have a variation in biome. It didn't have, some of the actual levels that you go into felt disjointed from the actual world. Those kinds of things. Those kinds of things matter in video games, especially a Halo series.
No, I said they were trying to make a leap in design by going open world, by going games as a service. Yeah. Your points are completely valid. The lack of biomes. I mean, if we look at what a Halo ring can really do, it's meant to simulate actually multiple different biomes. You don't really see too much of the Forerunners and stuff like that in Halo.
So let me ask you a question though, since you're on. You look at the upper echelon of, just the top of what video games, the Zeldas, the Marios, and I use God of War again. The Last of Us. I could go on and on about these upper echelon games. Has Halo really evolved into something that those games have evolved into? Can you say that?
Oh God, no. That's where I say, but the developers should be allowed to try. Yeah. And that's where I'm saying, you what do you want them to do? Like, I'm not trying to also be an ass, but should we go with the Sony perspective where we have an established list of game design features that we all want? Over the shoulder, third person cinematic experience. We want to be able to push around boxes, have a throwable weapon. It almost seems like, Sony breaks out this like secret formula that they give to all their game developers on, like, this is what we know works. Or do we want to allow developers some creative freedom? Do we want to allow them to try to think out of the box and try new ideas? But we also need to expect the fact that when you try new things, you're not going to just like blow the doors off and be like, oh, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. There's going to be some things that come out that people are not happy with. And this is where I say people should be allowed to fail without basically being like destroyed publicly because, oh, we didn't like this or we didn't like that. You suck. Can we give them, at least the gratification of they tried to do something? Now, I feel like one of the best arguments was made by General MLD was the fact that they can't hit a deadline for the life of them. Like, we had Master Chief Collection come out completely in a broken state. Deadline issues are a much bigger thing now, but this is where what?
We spoke, at length last year when the last time I was on this podcast. 343 had upwards of 1,500 employees trying to get this shit done, and still they were unable to. Go ahead.
Well, that's part of the problem. So my point on this is that that's what I heard. The part of the problem was when I thought that was a good thing, and I used to laud that. I used to say, "Listen, they got so many people working out." That actually turned out to be a detriment, from what I've heard.
Agreed.
Once the game was released, all the contracts expired. So now you have a tenth of whatever, a portion of the people working on the game, and they don't have the same support. And that's where they got screwed. Like, there was something that they said that there was a mechanic that they couldn't fix because they had to outsource that particular animation or whatever it was to a different studio, and that studio was like nowhere to be found. So they ran into all these issues post-launch because they basically didn't have the same team, and it wasn't the amount of people that they had before. And from what I've heard is they had like a meeting in just January after when the first start of criticism came on, and basically they had it out. They basically probably went over roadmaps and said, we're going to do this, we're going to try to hit that. And when the news came out that season 3 was delayed and all that stuff came out, I think that was like the last straw. Where I do think this is a matter of, I do think this is a matter of them moving on to else. I think if she had a druthers, Bonnie, that is, she would have probably wanted to work to the winter and finish whatever she was finishing off. But I think that they've decided to move on. And for whatever reason, I think that anything in the business world, regarding like this, sometimes you have to have a change, especially when
Yeah.
it came under such criticism. But to Centurion's point, and I thought that was a very nice point, a very true point. If it wasn't for Bonnie, we might not have Halo. So she
Yeah.
isn't this person that we really should, dogpile on, because she was there for when it was left, and she
Yeah.
was, but she definitely, there were people in the organization, I'm sure, that said, how does she still have a job? She keeps screwing up. Halo in 2018, 2017-18 was like all up in the air. They didn't know where to go. They finally went with it. Then they had the debacle where they showed it at the game show, and it looked like, well, according to a lot of people, looked like shit. And then they had to have the whole redo with Pierre and the other gentleman who took over to fix the game, and Staten, Joe Staten, and it got where it got, and it actually was a good campaign in my opinion. But the live service handling has been absolutely atrocious, and it is what it is. I think that it's. I think what I heard, and I think I spoke about it on this show and RDX. The guy Pierre was a big reason why MCC got back on track, and he was a big help in the revival of the graphics.
Timmy, on the surface,
for the better.
Yeah, on the surface it looks like, and this is just, maybe I'm reading into it too much. On the surface, it just looks like maybe there's a leadership issue. This is why they're going through 3 leadership teams. Who knows? Maybe I'm looking into it too much, but I mean.
Well, Pierre is the head of the studio. I think the other 2 people are delegating things that she was delegating. You said that she might have been worn too thin, and you're right. You think about it. They supposedly have she was pushing the movie, and then they were their entertainment division making Halo series. If you remember, they cut that. So it's been a whirlwind, but I think, to be honest, as much as Halo has lost money or disappointed, if they really get these updates down, like the Forge, the way it looks, and some of the other stuff that they're promising, I do think Halo can actually make a comeback. So it's going to be interesting. I for one, am not giving up on it, but I do think the change was needed. They got to move on.
Mm-hmm. No, agreed, Timmy, agreed. And what you're saying, too, I mean, I've seen some corroboration on that with Brad Sams, for example. He had chimed in saying Bonnie left due to management reshuffle. And, yeah, that Season 3 was pretty much the final straw, kind of nailing the coffin for restructuring. So, I mean...
I would say I would corroborate that report by Brad saying that I do know that they had like a true up in January, that Bonnie they had a I guess a clearing of the air, and probably what was said there was like, give us this amount of time, and as we know, it was probably unsatisfactory. I think part of the problem was it just didn't have the manpower or the crafted manpower that they need, the skilled manpower that they need in the area that the game is made in, whether it's open world or whether it's multiplayer. They just didn't have the bodies, or they were just always behind. And it showed, because they originally said that they were going to be like every 3 months. We'd be in Season 3 by freaking, what, now? So it's like they're way behind. And they delayed Season 2, and then they only had 2 maps. It was unacceptable. And people say, oh, well, Bonnie was given she was given preferential treatment or this and that, the stupid theories that you heard. It wasn't true. She was held to a standard, and like anything in business, if you don't meet those, requirements, I definitely think it came to that point where I believe Brad Sam's report is, which I corroborate, say, from what I've gathered, what I've known, it's probably true.
All right. All right. Yeah, that's good to know, Timmy. And yeah, I mean, it does seem pretty likely. I mean, yeah, I found it interesting too
I
when
do think that it.
yeah, no, and I find it interesting too that like, there's been more criticisms as, when they talked about when they put out the season 3 roadmap and there was delays for things were canceled, like again, split screen for example.
Yeah,
Then you had a Forge video, and then they showed some really cool stuff off, even though there's been leaks for months now, so people pretty much already know what's going on. And I remember people being pissed off because it's like you could change, like they had like a grunt there, and you could like customize the armor for the grunt, make it whatever color you wanted. But you can't exactly do that in Infinite, and like people just like, oh, I don't know, the whole the way that they do things with like the cores and the customization, I don't think that's ever gonna make people happy with Infinite, unfortunately. A lot of sore spots right now with customization. Now, moving on here, let's see, who else do we got to get to? Eric Shockley, buddy. I know you've been waiting. What's your thoughts? Do you agree with what everybody on the panel's saying? Do you have like your own thoughts, buddy? Please share with us.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a long time coming. I thought it probably would have happened sooner. That's with how prolonged like the issues have been with Halo Infinite. Of all their different like set milestones that they were trying to hit with Halo launching with the Series X, with that not meeting it, with their not being like co-op at the start or Forge, or meeting all the different roadmaps of, hey, it'll be out in 90 months for co-op, and then 6 months for the Forge. So now it's just gotten to this point where, yeah, I guess it might be a coincidence that she had a family matter, so then she stepped down, or who knows. But yeah, they definitely need to get somebody in there that's maybe see if they can get someone that kind of led it before, that is interested in coming back to Halo, like kind of how they got with this God, now I'm blanking on his name for whatever reason. Joseph Staten.
Yeah.
So get somebody that knows Halo and knows the direction, because that was the thing when he first got here is, he looked at it like, okay, that he didn't like the way they had this whole old world open map, which was a cool concept, but the way it meshed, it seemed like, from what we were hearing, I think on Reddit and other places, where when he came in, it was kind of disjointed, kind of like, if you're playing, treating Halo more like it's a big open world, like in the vein of like Assassin's Creed or like Skyrim or Fallout, where you're just, hey, who cares about the story or campaign? I'll just go do all these thousands of bunch of other things. But then that doesn't really feel like Halo, or feel like a Halo campaign. So he kind of like cleaned that up to make it more, at least somewhat streamlined. And then the way co-op wasn't, that's their main issue, is like they're trying to come back from Halo 5, even though that did critically well, like overall as a overall good game. It just, the story kind of fell apart. But trying to bounce back from that, maybe they shouldn't have been, and I've said this before, like not as ambitious, like, hey, let's make this giant open world Halo game. Hey, we're gonna make this Forge. I mean, I guess the Forge editor is cool, that the stuff it's gonna be able to do, but I don't know, maybe they should have gotten out like a set Forge and then like developed a separate, put more work into Forge after they got like a basic Forge with it out, and then like, hey, we've upgraded the Forge this year as like a big reveal at like a E3 or something, like, hey, here's now what you can do with Forge. We've added this, that way you could have shipped it with Forge. You could have shipped it with the co-op, because maybe you could have used some of those resources that you're using it now to like focus on those things. But that was their main issue. If they had Joseph staying from the first get-go and he didn't have to come there and fix a bunch of things, then he'd probably have the co-op ready to go. But the way it's just to get it to work correctly and make it work like well of like, hey, you're not too far away or you're not spawning the right way where this just isn't fun. Maybe it works in a sense, but it's not what traditionally like Halo's like co-op would feel like, or it'd be super too easy because they'd be spawning way too soon or something like that. But I mean, overall, hopefully they pick somebody that can right the ship and give overall better direction and just manage it better. So I know some people are, really happy about it because they've been calling for Bonnie Ross to be replaced since the moment Halo 5 dropped.
Probably Jeremy.
Yeah. But I don't know, it's tough because at that point they had so much going on because that was forever ago.
I got a lot of people in my DMs who were like calling for her head, especially after after the latest. I was like, what can I say? I had been a defender of 343, but they just had a bunch of stupid ones. Remember? They had the whole debacle with the June 19th or the.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
What that stupid shit was. Had that. They were just, to me, I gotta be honest. Jeremy also knows we've been to a lot of these live shows and T3s, and there's a lot of head honchos around. I've always felt like the Halo devs. Just they come off a little bit like arrogant, egotistical, and like even like their community manager, like you ask them a question and you don't get answers, like they talk about the ray tracing, they promised that at launch and then they delayed it, and then like you can't get an answer on get it or not. Like, can you come with us with some a bit of clarity of what you're doing to that, and this might be a wake-up call that they needed, because they definitely have said things and promised things and haven't delivered. The one thing with the split screen comment that Bonnie had, that's why you don't say things like that, because you promise things, you can never say. It's like, part of the things, like, this total, what the future holds. And
Timmy, who's a master at that?
Who?
Phil Spencer. He doesn't say too much. You're laughing because I mean.
Well, it's like the thing with the Call of Duty thing. Like, people think Phil is like this puff, and he's not a businessman. Phil's a businessman at heart. And he's not stupid. You're not going to go into something and say, hey, we're going to give you the lifetime of the contract. You're not going to do that. You're going to say, okay, we're going to talk about it every 3 years. And one of the reasons why is because who the hell knows what happens in 3 years? There's so many unforeseen things with tech. Who the hell knows?
Yeah.
The things that need to be discussed. And overall, you're probably going to have to pay a little bit of a finder's fee. Oh, okay, you want the access. Oh, you're going to have to pay this amount of money. And, that's just business.
Tim,
so, 101.
Real quick, guys, he's only made one mistake in his life, and that mistake was the Street Fighter comment saying that, if he don't have
one onto the team. That's why
yeah.
He came onto the team. But you never know. He gave me. I asked him for one thing. I was like, I just have one thing. If you could ever get baseball on the console, and he got that. So you never know. He could still get that. I mean, if he got Mortal Kombat versus Killer Instinct and it's exclusive, you would say you got your answer. So
yeah,
you
I don't
never
know. I'm not sure if you guys remember that Street Fighter comment.
I know. That's why you came onto the scene. You went.
Oh my God! I fucking flipped out.
Yeah, that's how you came. He was never on Twitter, and then I got this guy Jeremy every 3 hours, like, what the fuck is going on? Like, so Twitter, what a Street Fighter, it's funny, with that whole Street Fighter thing. Even though they did help publish it and stuff, that whole exclusivity thing was crazy.
Yeah, that was
it
pretty
ties
crazy.
into some of the stuff that we talk about today with Call of Duty. So, yeah, no, I mean, he still has some time on that.
Mm-hmm.
So if I could just add, I think it's interesting that you brought up the whole comments that Bonnie Ross made out about split screen co-op and not knowing what the future holds. And this has nothing to do with the criticisms that she has received as a result of making those comments. It's about me making this comment towards people need to not grade on a curve. They need to hold that same energy. What about what Neil Druckmann did over at Naughty Dog with the multiplayer for Last of Us 2 and the complete shit show that game launched in?
We know there's a double standard.
Yeah, well, they give it.
Where's all the fire Neil Druckmann freaking hashtags? Because Neil Druckmann lied about a multiplayer.
It's because not enough people care about factions. So.
Yeah. Who cares?
Yeah.
It's factions. This is Halo.
Yeah. Some of the hardcore fans do care about it.
But I'm just wanting to point out the double standard
for a story and nothing else.
It would be a double standard if the same level of energy was there for them. Halo has a different energy than The Last of Us multiplayer. I don't give two shits about The Last of Us multiplayer.
See, I'm not talking about the popular. I'm talking about why is Subject A allowed to lie and basically not come through?
They did say it was going to be
B is going to be graded on a curve and is basically going to have a smash campaign basically against them and how they need to be fired from their job. It has nothing to do with remove popularity out of the equation. We're talking about two games here where both of them made promises, and this guy's considered one of the best single-player directors out there, and she sucks.
So how about this? The Last of Us game was so great, the single-player campaign, everything got lost in the shuffle. So everybody forgot what he said. I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
Well, I also look deeper at the fact that The Last of Us 2 launched under a complete controversy. To this day, it is probably more than likely a developer that worked at Naughty Dog leaked the entire game on the internet to force their hand to launch the game because they were going to bankrupt their employees for the holidays because of the pandemic.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, and here's the other thing about that. We don't totally know. There's still a multiplayer project. If it comes out free to play, then no real promise was.
I mean, the promise wasn't kept.
No. I genuinely believe it's going to do a free to play title. I believe it's going to be a free to play.
It would be there.
They did promise it in 2018, but things do evolve. And it's not like they've abandoned the project completely.
I mean, I do agree.
But Halo, at least the developers at 343 are talking about it. They're trying to. It's not some secret that they're trying to fix the problem. We can't definitely say that this multiplayer project is being worked on or not.
Yeah, we can. They said it at the Summer Game Fest this year.
Who's playing this
next year?
This year, years after the game launched. This year, they finally talked about it years after the game launched.
No, they did.
They mentioned it every year since it's launched.
To be fair, I think more people care about factions than actual split screen Halo.
I would have to say, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I disagree with that just because my friend group does care. I know a sizable amount of people care.
I mean, I see both sides. I see both sides personally. I do agree with what Centurion's saying that they are held to a certain standard, which a lot of other studios do abuse their fan bases like that, again with the factions part. But at the same time, I mean, I do agree with what you're saying too, Crusader, because I've told people, oh yeah, split screen's coming. They promised it. For Halo Infinite. And it's like, damn, I kind of feel like I've let down people too by spreading that. So.
You know what? You're right. They'll say you lied or whatever. But no, I mean, when she did that, it definitely was something that I do think you can criticize. But just even with the ray tracing stuff, and I hear what you're saying, Centurion, but
No, I'm not trying to defend them. I'm just trying to say that
there's definitely, they haven't had as much problems. The problem is that Halo, or 343, the fucking Halo MCC was a disaster when it launched. They just could never really get. They could just never get that footing, just have something go smoothly.
This was also something they promised in conjunction to feedback about, like, we're sorry about something, right?
Yeah.
Like, the actual promise is almost, like, considerably different, right?
And I do think, I agree, but I do think it's because of technical difficulty or technical things. And they just, because of the whole thing that we talked about, because they changed the gameplay so much and they made it open world, it's probably hard enough to get co-op.
But then the leaks make them look bad too.
And you can play it right now. Like, Digital Foundry tested it, and it runs really well. It's just not totally stable. It's just, and they didn't. When they said that they weren't doing it, they said they weren't doing it because they're moving resources elsewhere. It's not that they said that they can't do it. It's that they said that they don't have enough resources to do it. Right? That was the reason that they gave in the blog post was we're devoting our resources elsewhere.
But gentlemen, let's be.
If you realize that they probably just said, "Who the hell's playing couch co-op?" And the fact of the matter is,
and that's where I have to say it. And I'm not trying to be mean to anybody that wanted split screen, but there's times you have to realize that you are the small minority, and when you have to, and when you are a business and you have to make a business decision, the small minority gets clipped. I've had to be put in these decisions before. Did I enjoy it? No. I have literally had to look customers in the face with them pissed off, and they had to be like, sorry, man, we just had to move on. We weren't able to perform the way you wanted to because you were like the one out of every 100 people that wants to do this. And like, I'm sorry, but the resources just aren't there.
Mm-hmm.
But since you're on, let's be fair for a second. We all make promises we can't keep. I mean, just take Tim, for example, and his, the Crackdown 3 cloud compute promise that he never delivered on. You remember that, Tim?
Well, that's the funny part. I think everybody goes straight for Crackdown 3 when we're talking about technically Microsoft had a legit court case that they could have took someone to court for and sued the absolute piss out of them. But Microsoft decided to move on and tried to have a game company try to at least save what was there. I mean, that would be like Microsoft buying out Bethesda and saying F you on Deathloop, F you on Ghostwire Tokyo. We're tearing up those contracts. You can kiss our ass, and we're gonna put our exclusiveness over here. And that's pretty much what happened with Crackdown 3 is Microsoft hired a developer. That developer got bought out, I think was by Amazon or Epic.
I think it was Epic.
Epic Games. And basically they decided to say F you on the contract, and they basically rode off into the sunset with that developer. And Microsoft was just left with basically pieces of a game that didn't even have the tech working right. And I mean, like, they were within their rights to basically take that company to court, and because a contract is a contract. And that
depends. It depends on if they had a exit strategy in the clause or not, whether they could be paid out or not, and they likely did.
I don't know. Like I said, it
just didn't pay to go. I mean, at that point, it was an unforeseen. This is unforeseen things that happen.
That's what I'm just saying, Mike. You got to also, when you're in like dealing with business, you got to remember it costs a lot of money to take somebody to court. And you also got to look at the other half of the equation is that company going to be able to pay out? So it's more like, you got to cut your losses.
Yeah, well, listen, the Crackdown 3, thanks, Jeremy, for putting that up. That was another shit show. But the thing is that, like, the whole thing with this is, just in regards to everything, they definitely got to do better. And, I think we've covered this.
That's why non-dev shouldn't promise something unless it's like they know definitively, hey, you're gonna hit this. Like, don't. And that was what, 2018? Like, did they even?
They didn't promise it for Halo Infinite. They promised it for every title in the future.
Yeah.
That was an FPS.
In perpetuity.
In perpetuity.
Yeah.
And we were
Never talking
leaving,
absolutes.
Over the top.
Now,
They said it was a painful mistake that they learned.
now, Crusader. Crusader, I mean, I would love to get, I would love for you to round out this topic with your 2 cents. Like, please, by all means, go ahead.
Yeah, the only thing I want to add, right, to all this, I actually want to add something Centurion said. And Centurion said we don't know how much like Matt Booty might have been micromanaging, right? And I think he was onto something there, except he's in the wrong direction. And we've seen this with a bunch of their other studios. I don't think Matt Booty was managing them enough. Okay? We've seen this with their other studios. We've seen many reports about it with their other studios. Specifically, the State of Decay devs. What the fuck are they called?
Undead.
Undead.
Yeah, we've seen it with Undead, where they had issues, where there was rampant problems within Undead Labs, because they Microsoft's HR was not integrated into theirs, and their HR was basically their original little dinky HR, and they couldn't handle the growth of the company, and it turned into a toxic workplace culture. And I think one of the problems at 343 was upper management, Booty, Phil upwards, were not managing 343 enough. I think they need to get into a what?
I think there's something there to that. However, Microsoft, Xbox does want to, stay clear of that crunch culture, high stress environment. I think that's why creating a more inviting environment, and which is now, I mean, you see it. Games are taking longer to make. You see it. I mean, it's bad for us. It's good for them. And you see these games taking a lot longer to produce. I mean, we still haven't seen gameplay for a lot of these games that are coming out. And I think that's part of the reason, because that crunch culture is gone. And, they're having this more inviting, just work environment in general.
There's a difference between forcing people to crunch and actually managing. There's a big difference between that. And one of the big things is actually making sure that they're making forward progress in the first place, because one of the big reports about Halo Infinite in general was that they were basically separated into fiefdoms, and there was like 4 or 5 different games being developed, right? That never should have happened.
I agree.
Management should have been managing them as one studio, not 5 different ones, right?
I think that's a good point.
Unless they've been specifically set into specific fiefs. Like, Bungie themselves now, Destiny has specific different teams. Like, there's the raid team, and all they do is develop raids and dungeons and endgame content, right? And then there's, like, the rewards team and the Crucible team and stuff like that. But this isn't what we hear from with the Halo Infinite team. We hear that there was, like, potentially 4 or 5 different versions of the game being worked on by different sectors of 343, and that one of them ended up winning out and the rest of them got canned. That never should have happened. And I don't know if it was the fact that Bonnie et al., the upper management of 343 couldn't handle it, or Matt Booty refused to step in because they've been trying to be hands off with their studios, right? But
that's my point. Well, I want to interject with.
Yeah.
They were always, if you all remember, the biggest thing about Microsoft, or their criticism was they were always,
lackadaisical.
That they would meddle in and they would ruin the games. So this was their take, but it backfired because they thought, okay, well, we'll just let these studios cultivate themselves and run themselves, and it'll all be good. But when you do that, there's always a potential that people don't work, or people goof off, or whatever the case may be. And the State of Decay situation, the Undead Labs, they mentioned that they were like nowhere to be found.
Yeah.
And then, so I do think that, this is a black eye on Xbox Game Studios. Booty probably should swallow some whatever direction.
And what I meant by crunch, Crusader, is there's.
I know what you meant.
I know what you mean too. I know what you mean by crunch too. But there's a difference between,
but
hitting forcing them to work 300 hours a week.
Yeah, but what I was talking about, the managerial aspect of it, saying that, hey, you're burning through money like it's no tomorrow. you have 1,500 people that you're in charge of. Let's get this done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What Crusader's saying is like they're all over the place. And
Right.
Yeah,
it sounded like they were.
Right.
Yeah, they couldn't manage themselves.
Right.
It's
They'd
not
be
that.
better off if they were
Right.
in a crunch culture situation, because when you're in crunch, you know what the hell's going on, and you're
Yeah.
dedicated to get something done.
Exactly.
But when you don't have that and you're all over the place, you're in a worse
For-
place.
I like how we always bring up crunch. For me, it's taking responsibility that you missed a damn deadline.
Yeah.
I don't know about where you guys work, but if I miss a deadline, I get my ass chewed out.
Oh yeah.
And I'm saying there's repercussions
Yeah.
for missing a deadline. And sometimes it's like, hey, you might want to get your
Right.
ass in there and finish
Yeah.
that job because you missed the deadline. And
it
I know
creates-
crunch sucks, but
it creates that sense of urgency. And when you don't have that sense of urgency, and what Crusader was saying, if you're not managing that sense of urgency, people are allowed to do whatever the hell they want and get it done.
See, I'm not even pushing for a sense of urgency, right? I'm saying that someone should have been above 343, not Booty at all. Someone should have been looking at them and being like, hey, why are there 5 different Halos being worked on? You're supposed to be working on Halo Infinite, not these 5 iterations of it. Get your shit together, right? Not so much that they need to be working harder, they need to be working together better. Does that make sense?
Agreed.
Yeah. In other words, more teamwork. More hyper focused on the task at hand.
They need to be managed better. Not that they aren't productive, but their productivity needs to be towards the same project. Right?
Yeah.
And that's my big thing. And I think Bonnie saved Halo, but she didn't know what to do with it once she had it. Right? It's like the plankton meme. I didn't think I'd get this far, right? And so she saved Halo, but she probably shouldn't have been managing Halo. Does that make sense with anyone? Like she shouldn't have had as much weight on her shoulders as she had, and I don't think that she realized that really until now. You know what I mean? Like And that's because now Xbox is trying to actually go for the big leagues. No offense, but like 343's most of their existence, Xbox was kind of like, what are we? You know, we were under Windows until 2017 and stuff like that. But now Xbox is swinging for the fences, and there's a lot more stress on her shoulders to release content, right?
Yep, I agree.
And I think it broke the camel's back, and I do think that the guy they put in, the one who's basically saved MCC, is probably the right call to put in here. Now, the question is, can he lead a team to build projects from the ground up as opposed to fixing them? Right? He's proven he can fix them. MCC's freaking great now. But can he do it from the ground up? He can probably save Infinite, but can he build on whatever Infinite's going to be? Can he add to it as opposed to just fixing?
Well, that's the experiment they're going for right now, and splitting Bonnie's job up into the 3 roles with the 3 new people there.
And good old Frankie's still missing.
Oh yeah, Frankie. Like, I never hear from him. What's going on?
His one of his jobs was actually the job title that one of those people got. So really not sure what's going on with him.
I have a feeling we'll stealthily hear something soon. But time will tell.
Check out the chat feed. I got a picture of Frankie and then Bonnie up there.
All right, I'll have to take a look in a minute.
Nice.
But yeah, guys, we could talk about this all night long, but again, you know, Bonnie Ross departing 343, probably the right call at this point, but you know, I wish no ill will on her. I mean, I'd love to meet her and chat with her about Halo and whatnot, but you know, sometimes the difficult calls need to be made, and we'll see where Halo Infinite goes from here. I'm just hoping for more stable content releases and so on. And just a general state of the game with more modes and just going forward. But yeah, guys, we'll move on to the next topic. But all you guys in the chat, great to see you. And if you haven't done so already, please share this show out and hit the thumb button, as, hey, you know what? It does help us out enormously. But yeah, fellas, moving along to some other news, because again, there was a lot of news that happened over the past week. Both PlayStation and Nintendo had their direct style live streams. We saw some new games and a fairly big announcement from Nintendo's that affects Xbox, well, in my opinion, very positively. Crusader, my devout game thread maker friend.
Oh, yeah.
What did you think of these live streams? Did anything catch your eye?
So, I'm going to give my personal ratings and then what I would call an objective, like, I don't like all these games, but as, like, just an overview, what I would think of each of them. And I'll do my overview first. I thought Nintendo had an a flat A showcase, and I thought PlayStation's state of play, for being a state of play, not compared directly to each other, was probably a B+, right? Like, objectively for all the gamers, right? For me personally, it was probably like a B+ and a B- for each of them. Tekken, cool, but I don't like fighting games. God of War, sick! Let's go! It's gonna be fun, I can't wait. VR, disappointing. I don't really care. Like, I'm on the fence with VR as it is, and this has been so much about the VR stuff. Yakuza Ishin getting getting released in the West, awesome. There's so many people like Yakuza. Hogwarts Legacy timed exclusive crap is crap. I cannot stand timed exclusive content within a game. I don't care who's doing it. I don't care if it's a bonus from pre-ordering at GameStop. I don't care if it's Xbox. I don't care if it's PlayStation. It's crap, right? If I'm paying $60 for the game, I should get the same game as everyone else. Period. The Pacific Drive game was kind of cool. The loyalty program, I can't wait for PlayStation Stars. Nintendo Direct, that Zelda game looks sick for the people who like Zelda. Pikmin 4, excited for Pikmin 4. Was disappointed that Jeff Grubb was wrong about the re-releases of those Zelda games. And a lot of farming sims at Nintendo. Lot of farming and slice of life games. Not surprising because Animal Crossing New Horizons sold like 40 million copies and has like a 40% sell-in rate to the Switch, right? So like makes sense that they're going to advertise as many of those as they can, because boy howdy does Nintendo have a market for that kind of stuff. But
yeah.
It's the equivalent of like at an Xbox or PlayStation showcase getting a ton of shooters, just or third-person action adventure games or what have you, Kind of like, yeah.
What did you give Nintendo again?
I give them an A.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Every
one of my friends who's a Nintendo fan was super happy with that.
Well, that's the problem. You're a Nintendo homer. I can't say the same thing about Xbox.
I'm not a Nintendo homer. My friends are. That's why I gave it personally a B+, because there was enough there that I was excited for that, like, yeah, okay, I'll get a couple games this year, right?
It was okay.
Listen. It is hard for me to give any showcase less than a B-. Why? Because if there's at least one game there, it was worth watching. As long as it's not 4 hours long, Jeff Keighley. Okay. But, like, for when I'm talking, I'm giving it an A. I'm talking about for the Nintendo audience, the audience of the goddamn device, right? They got what they want. Objectively, they did. What they buy, they got what they want. So when I say objectively an A, the only thing it didn't have for the Nintendo audience was Pokemon, but Pokemon's never part of the Nintendo Directs. Pokemon is always its own event.
So, Crusader, Nintendo fans got what they want, right?
Yes.
Well, where was Metroid?
That's a good question. Metroid doesn't exist, right? Metroid is the new Elden Ring, right? Where Elden Ring didn't exist. Metroid's the new Elden Ring. Now, granted, Metroid fans did get Metroid Dread last year, right? I'm playing through it right now. Great game. So, Jeff Grubb has bet on his hair, by the way, that there is Metroid Prime news by the end of the year. He has bet his hair that he will shave his head and donate his hair to
at least the
children's
trilogy.
cancer thing.
At least the trilogy.
Yeah, he said the trilogy. Which that hasn't even been announced at all. So that's a bigger. In my book, that's a bigger thing to bet your hair on. right? But he has bet his gigantic set of hair, like that everyone knows him for, bet it on Metroid Prime remastered news.
Game Awards.
So, I don't know. Nintendo doesn't usually do Keighley things. I think it'll just be another mini director direct. It's like when people start saying that like Nintendo shit's gonna show up at the Game Awards or PlayStation stuff, I'm like, it either has to be like an announced game that they've already shown a bunch of times and they just won it at the biggest event of the year. Like they don't do reveals. Like neither of them really do reveals at those shows. It was really shocking that The Last of Us Part 1 was at Jeff Keighley's Summer Game Fest, to be honest with you. So I don't see the I don't see. I also don't see it being a big enough drop to. People would be like, "What is this? What is this shit?" I'd be happy. I love remasters. I love remakes, except for The Last of Us Part 1. Didn't need remade. But you know, so and a lot of these shows, there was a lot of like remasters or Western ports or stuff that were shown off at these events, and I love that. I'm really all about trying to get good games on as many modern platforms that have digital stores as we can, because it kind of keeps the game just accessible to, well, like, I'm a young boy. I'm 26 years old. I might be the youngest person on this panel. And I love it when I can actually play a game that people have told me about that's like 10, 15 years old, and I can actually get it on a modern piece of hardware. And I don't have to go through all kinds of hoops and emulators and downloading it from sketchy sites. So all for that stuff. So I thought the showcases were both pretty good.
All right. Now, one of the bigger announcements, I mean, it certainly caught everybody's eye and was surprising, was Goldeneye being announced for Xbox.
How could I forget Goldeneye? The multiplayer is freaking hilarious. That it is screwed up as it is, right? I am mad at Microsoft for not implementing online multiplayer for it. Hilarious that Nintendo's doing it through their hacky emulator system on the Switch that like everyone plays it with. Yeah, I know it's shit. So it's like it's hilarious that they are gonna have it, but it's gonna be bad.
You literally have to find people that like, hey, I can't even. It's terrible because I subscribed to it. I was like, cool, I'm gonna beat so many people at freaking Mario Tennis. I've dreamed for this all these years, but no, I have to specifically have friends that have subscribed to this expansion pass and want to play Mario Tennis with me online. That's a very small group of people that exists.
Yeah,
maybe we'll do a looking for group like Destiny. I don't know.
Yeah. So the GoldenEye stuff's cool though, right? Like it's very cool that GoldenEye. It's a perfect example of this, right? That it's a remaster, it's being preserved for a new generation. A lot of people are going to realize it does not hold up well. But I am happy that it exists. I'm very happy that anyone who owns Rare Replay digitally is just going to get it, right? Everyone's going to get it for free who owns the replay, which makes sense because it should have been in that Rare Replay, but like literal licensing held between them, Nintendo, MGM/Amazon now. Right.
I hope they have the dev diaries like they do for all the other games in there.
Yeah. Very, very exciting to see that coming. Very disappointing with the multiplayer. Whatever. Really weird choice that was made. Also, very good price point at like $750 if you just want to buy it. And it's launching into Game Pass for Game Pass owners, right? Like. They don't have to worry about buying anything. Like it's just going to be in Game Pass. Correct me. I think it is. I think because
I think you would because Rare Replay is automatically in there. So
even as a standalone,
I wasn't sure if it was just being given to digital owners or not. So if it is just being included, because like I know they added specifically like ODST and like Reach to Game Pass so that like Game Pass owners can actually get those even though they're technically paid DLC for MCC. So cool to see that everyone's gonna get to play GoldenEye if they want to. I'm not among those people, but I love the energy of no matter how old the remaster is, we are going to make sure the game remains playable in a modern state. Now, I know this tells me Xbox, please put the old Elder Scrolls and the old Fallouts on console now.
Now,
That's-
did
that's
they
funny
say
you
they
ask.
were fixing? I think they said better frame rate on the Xbox side, but I don't know if they said that on the Switch
No,
side.
the Nintendo side, the Nintendo is literally getting the ROM. They're getting the N64 ROM.
Yikes!
From the Xbox side, from what I understand, it is the ROM but upgraded. So that scares
Probably
me
like
too.
all the other Rare Replay games. If you look at like
Yeah.
Banjo on Rare
Um,
Replay versus like even Banjo on my upscaled Ultra HD modded N64, the one on the Rare Replay is way
Much
better
better?
because it's
Okay.
actually they actually redo the models. They're like HD models, not the old
Yeah.
model scaled
Yeah.
up to 4K, perfect
I
pixel.
think they said better frame rate, which implies to me stable frame rate. Doesn't imply to me higher frame rate.
That'll be an interesting way to play play Goldeneye without the like, well, you'll still hear the breathing when you're getting shot when they make those hard breathing noises, but you won't be like, oh, it's like there's too many people in one room shooting at each other and it's like stop motion.
Yeah, I don't think that will happen anymore because I don't
But
think
that
it
would
will
be
go higher because I suspect that game has physics tied to the frame rate.
So it's like
It's from that
online play is
era.
going to be cool on
Yeah.
Switch, but the multiplayer of it is not going to be cool because it's probably not going to. It's going to be so dated because of
We'll
the
see.
stop motion.
The only reason I say we'll see is the Switch's actual. Now, I mean, the Switch ain't strong, right? But the Switch is much stronger than the N64, right? I don't think that's debatable. You know what I mean? The Switch definitely like suplexes the Nintendo 64 in terms of processing power. So we'll see how bad the multiplayer is frame rate wise. I have a feeling it'll tank a little bit just because it's not optimized for the hardware. But I have a feeling that the hardware will be able to basically allocate more processing to the ROM.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So I don't know. Also, the multiplayer will exist on the Xbox. It's just going to be local, right? You just have to do it on one device, just like you did when the game came out.
Mm-hmm. Now, Shockley, did anything else catch your eye during the shows, like any of the State of Play or Nintendo Direct?
It was mostly the N64 stuff. I was praying that Wave Race would get released, but still no. So maybe they have to pay those Kawasaki royalties or something. But so I was kind of disappointed. Like they did add quite a few in this one announcement, but other than hearing Goldeneye was coming. But then again, I was kind of disappointed there because I thought, oh, cool. This means they're also going to announce the one that's supposed to be, which I've played, the actual HD remade shot for shot, kind of like Halo Anniversary style Goldeneye, where you literally press a button and can go from old graphics to new ones. I still don't understand why that's not what Xbox is getting. Hopefully that's still coming, but then you'd think they would announce it with this. Because actually because they're just throwing this into Rare Replay. Versus that was like its own separate thing, like Halo Anniversary, like you play it and you can go back and forth. So I guess we're probably never getting that, but luckily you can still play it for whoever leaked that. But yeah, I didn't catch too much of the Zelda. I need to go back and watch that. I still need to finish Breath of the Wild. I think I was on like the last.
Oof.
I play other Zelda games and I go right through. I feel like I like that more structure of like playing linear games when it comes to like Zelda versus like, hey, go out and do a bunch of stuff and you'll find out later that you were playing Zelda Breath of the Wild all wrong. And then you get spiteful about it and don't want to go back to it. But I didn't catch much else. I think I was mainly looking for like what they're going to announce for the N64 emulator. Or even though the emulator on there is not the best, but it's kind of convenient when people come over and you want to all just play. Because I'll have my family come over and we'll all play like Mario Tennis. So I whip out my N64 with those long, with those all cord, controllers. But it is kind of convenient to just take some wireless controllers, just hook it up on the Switch and play it. But yeah, that was pretty much. I think I caught a few other like indie titles that looked decent, but I think that was mainly it. And I think they announced did they finally show off Bayonetta 3?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think I saw a little glimpse of that. That looked good, but still trying to figure out where are more of these titles like Metroid Prime 4. I don't think they announced anything like that, or also any of the HD releases, like why we can't get the Wii HD versions of Twilight Princess and Wind Waker, but we can get what was that Skyward Sword, the game no one asked for.
So I have a 15-year-old, and I had a chance to speak with him before I sat my happy ass down on the couch and watched both the Nintendo and Sony shows. And the first thing he said about Nintendo, and he's a huge Nintendo fan. He has multiple Switches, blah 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 blah. He said it was trash, complete trash, and he said, yeah, just when you watch it, you're gonna have a healthy dose of farming simulators. And I'm like, okay, I go in there with an open ear, open mind. And if I was a huge Nintendo fan, which I was back in the day, I'd be so disappointed. Like Crusader, I have no idea how you can give it an A, but I know Nintendo's market is totally different from Xbox and Sony. But in my opinion, they didn't even try this time. Again, Metroid was completely absent from the show. The game, like you said, could be in trouble. Who knows? But no, not even a mention of Mario. Not even. I mean, Zelda. It looks great. I mean, Zelda's gonna be great. But other than that, I've watched, shows where Nintendo at least had something. They had nothing, absolutely nothing. And I've enjoyed my Switch up to this point, and so have the kids. But in my household, it's the least system we play by far. It's like not even close. And again, I know it's a different market, but I don't know if you guys seen the Nintendo Forbes article, but they said that the Switch has a couple issues, and it was released like on, I'm trying to remember exactly, I think it was like September 15th. It said the Switch has a couple problems, and number one, it was the drifting issues. They still, Nintendo is known for having that product of innovation. That's what they're known for. But they still cannot get over, which is a huge issue, by the way. They still can't get over that drifting issue, which is so freaking annoying. I mean, it costs customers a bunch of money. And the other one was horsepower. Right now people have access to numerous mobile gaming controller options like the Backbone and stuff like that. But today's current phones and tablets have thousands of games on them, with horsepower that exceeds, Nintendo's device. And I'm not a techie personally, but I know that phones don't have the GPU that can handle 3D graphics, but essentially it's up to like the CPU, and it's doing double duty. But at some point, Nintendo needs to invest in its hardware. And I'm not talking about innovation. I'm talking about just raw horsepower. So it can get high quality third party games that come out on some of these other systems in a good state. But I think Nintendo's saving grace is its business model, and it's going to stay around for a long time because of that, because they're extremely profitable. But as a gamer, and as a gamer, I just don't see them hanging around by a thread, because people are just moving to other platforms. As for the Sony show, I thought it was a good but not great. I think some of the standout showings was, and I think you guys mentioned some of this, was Team Ninja's Rise of the Ronin, which looks like Elden Ring clone kind of, but I think Stellar, I think it's called Stellar Blade. That looks very cool. Of course, you have the new God of War game, which is going to be absolutely amazing. But I don't know if you guys seen the game called, I think it's called Singularity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a very stylized, I guess you can call it like a third-person mech action game. I thought that looked fantastic. And I did get a chance to read what Sony's doing as far as their answer to the Xbox reward system, which is incredibly generous and an incredibly good reward system. I thought that looked promising. I think the digital rewards, people love that shit. So they're gonna play more games, and if there's incentive, people are gonna play, and if there's even more incentives, people are gonna play, and they're gonna migrate to other platforms if there's a big enough incentive. So I remember on the 360, and you guys remember on the 360 too. I spent hundreds and hundreds of dollars on that type of stuff, and now you can get it for free just by playing games. So that's a plus. When you have Spider-Man, which looked cool. I think the what was the other game? The cat game, Stray. Stray looked all right.
Stray's out. It wasn't there.
Yeah, I think the coming year is going to be interesting though, with Xbox and Sony kind of slugging it out, because Xbox is poised right now to have its best years. Its best years are ahead of them, and I think 2023, and Tim will attest to this. 2023, 2000 through 2025. I think you're going to see amazing titles produced by Xbox, which in my opinion, in terms of, quality and quantity, Sony just can't produce that many. So they're going to get left behind at some point, especially with this Activision deal, which they have no answer for. Let's be honest. And it is going to go through without a hitch. I mean, you're going to hear stuff in the news, but let's be honest, it's going to go through without a hitch come June of next year. So even though gaming news says otherwise, I think, we're not going to have any issues with that. But yeah, Sony had a good showing, and I think that they don't have any answer for Xbox right now. They're playing a reactive game when Sony's always been proactive on things. Now if the tables have switched, kind of, where Xbox is proactive and poised to just dominate, at least 10 years until Sony could figure out what the hell is going on. I think Xbox is, we're in for a real treat soon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, totally agree there, Jeremy. Yeah, as I've been saying, 2023 is going to be one for the ages to remember, game-wise, and then some, right? So, no, we got a lot to look forward to. We just got to get past the next couple of months, and pretty soon we'll be in a tsunami of games, to say the least. General MLD, I know you want to chime in here. What did you think of these live streams from the State of Play and Nintendo Direct? Did you like the GoldenEye announcement at all?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'll focus more or less on the GoldenEye one, but for the State of Play, it is nice to know that a lot of the games that were announced were in fact multi-platform. So I just want to it's good that Xbox, they're really committed to Japan and making sure that the Xbox platform isn't being left behind. So that was nice to see, like games like Tekken and stuff like that. I'm sure you guys know the games. Nintendo, I have some Nintendo friends. Like, so to them, Zelda. Seeing the box art of Zelda stole the show, apparently. So I guess they're just happy to see the game is like it's on its way, and it's like it has like a more or less a release date coming up that they can look forward to. I think that made the show for them. I think the Metroid stuff, like I personally, I mean, I was a GameCube owner. That was one of my favorite consoles of all time. Metroid Prime 1 is one of my favorite games of all time. I feel like that game gained snubbed. I mean, I think it's going to come out eventually. I think a lot of fans of Metroid know that, so I think they're letting that slide and just focusing on what Nintendo did show. So overall, though, Nintendo had a great show. But with GoldenEye, it's weird. Like, I know you would think that they would invest in this to make it online for Xbox, and in the end, it's only going to Switch. But everyone knows at face value, it looks bad, like how Nintendo has online and Xbox doesn't. But everyone who knows Nintendo Online knows that will hardly be a smooth experience. Far from it. It'll be a lot of hoops to jump through. And ultimately, the Xbox version is the best version. It has like it's an actual remaster, whereas they get an actual just an emulation essentially. So, and hey, whatever. I'll play multiplayer the old-fashioned way, like just like back in the day. I played split screen, and that's actually what I did a lot. Then I played a lot of split screen in friends' basements, but I never actually got around to playing the campaign. So I'm actually gonna play the campaign, redeem my childhood,
Oh wow.
and play this game. Yeah, play this campaign for the first time. And yeah, I know a couple people. They'll come over. We'll play some split screen, whatever, just like how they used to do it. So yeah. Overall, though, it was nice to know. It was nice to see that it's finally coming, because I expected this game to be announced at the Xbox Summer Showcase, because everything they said is, hey, like everything you're gonna see is 12 months or more out, and then you don't see Goldeneye, so you're like, well, what's going on? Like, what's wrong with this game? But now we know why. Nintendo they want to announce it. They want the honor to do that. So. Okay, well, good.
It also had some concerns with Russia, with the Russian-Ukraine incident, because of the actual plot of the game. There was some concerns with launching it. Just like, what is it? What's the Nintendo game that's delayed? Armored Core? No.
That's Sony.
Advanced Wars.
Yeah. Oh.
The Advanced Wars are also delayed for the same reason, because of the plot.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the Advanced Wars 1 and 2 remakes.
Yeah.
They didn't care. Advanced Wars got released, when we invaded Iraq. But who cares?
Yeah. No one would have roasted them in the news back then.
Yeah.
Well, now people will.
That's why it's complete BS. Like, they actually give a shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, point being, I'm glad. It's also nice that they're including it with Rare Replay, and overall, I'm just excited to play the game, even though it's online. Well, I'll make the most of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, dude, it's a fun campaign. I mean, I know it's aged, but like, it was fun. And hey, did you ever watch the movie back in the day?
Oh yeah, I watched the movie.
Well, yeah, similar thing. Like, it has a couple of different things, but overall, it follows the movie, so it's fun. It's fun overall. Let's see, Centurion Pal. I know you've been patiently waiting. Did you happen to catch the either show, State of Play, or Nintendo Direct? And yeah, what did you think of them?
So I'll be honest, I did check out State of Play. I did not watch the Nintendo Direct. I'll be honest. I have a Nintendo Switch, but I buy what appeals to me, and I don't really go above and beyond that. Forgive me for saying that, but it's like let's just say, outside of some Zeldas and some other big titles over there on Nintendo, I'm not tuning into Nintendo Direct. I do think it's pretty awesome that they're bringing back GoldenEye. I thought I did have a chuckle when I saw that it was going to be pretty much literally, couch co-op, couch split screen, for playing the multiplayer with GoldenEye. But there's a lot of nostalgia behind that, getting everybody together, trying to play on your each individual square, not having your friends yell at you saying that you're staring at their screen and not watching your own little box. The campaign I thought was cool. Also, there's always that one bit of nostalgia for me with GoldenEye, and that was the background music for the pause menu, which was actually one of the more cooler versions of the James Bond theme, in my opinion. Definitely, I'm glad that I have Rare Replay, so I'm actually going to be getting that one, and I'm not even going to, so basically, yeah, it's being included with Rare Replay, so I'm actually excited that's the gift that keeps on giving. I was one of the first day one adopters for Rare Replay when that thing came out, because I loved the collection of games that were there. Banjo-Kazooie, all of the Banjo-Kazooie games, even an offshoot game called Blast Corps. Anybody remembers that one? That was a very interesting title.
Yep.
But now to find out that they're now also going to include GoldenEye with that, hey, even more reason that I'm excited that I bought that title. The one show I did check out, though, was State of Play. I'm more of a Western gamer. whatever it is. I do dabble every now and then on the other side of the world's version of gaming. But for me, I would have to say the one standout for me was God of War Ragnarok. I do like, how could I say it? Everybody always did want to call this game DLC. I mean, I being one of them, because of it was something that was supposed to be added on to the original game. It's good to see that they have go way beyond that and did something much broader in its design. If I'm using that correctly, I'm glad to see that there's new enemy types, there's different biomes. That shot of Atreus basically shooting the arrow across the sky, turning night into day with the wolves behind him. I'm actually looking forward to God of War Ragnarok. That will be probably my pickup holiday title to play on my PS5. And that was pretty much the high point for the show for me. I did have to chuckle though, because at first I thought Sony was all trolling us by doing a controller reveal, and then it went into the actual God of War Ragnarok trailer.
I got so mad.
Oh, dude, at first when I'm like, are these assholes really gonna just totally hype me with a controller? Because I'm sorry, the controller does not look good to me in any way. I'm pretty sure there's somebody that wants that controller, but the blue and the white, I'm just like, oh my gosh, they're gonna try to hype me with a controller, and it's an ugly one at that. And then it turned into the God of War Ragnarok trailer, which I totally loved. And that was pretty much my high points. Let me see. Somebody already mentioned it. The game with the car.
Pacific something.
Pacific Road or
yeah, Pacific. Where the heck? Oh, Pacific Drive. Pacific Drive.
Pacific Drive. That's gonna be an interesting game. At least on the feed that I was watching, I had audio going in and out, so I didn't really get the full experience on that trailer. But from what I did see, it's definitely going to be a very interesting title. I don't know why it reminded me of like the Ecto-1 from Ghostbusters, and like, what is this game really going to be? But definitely, I would definitely say that PlayStation had some stuff there for me that I'm interested in, which just kind of makes me happy to be a multi-platform gamer. I'm not like exactly boxed in. I try to play anything and everything I can. And we all, there's a lot of games for us to look forward to.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. I mean, I'll admit I didn't see a lot from. I was probably more happy with the Nintendo Direct than State of Play personally, but hey, I really like that GoldenEye announcement. What can I say? Really brought me back.
I would have to say, out of all of them, out of all the news that came out, all the highlights, the shows that came from them, GoldenEye is probably my one takeaway. That this is going to be the one game that I'm looking forward to right now at this very moment, because I mean, I want to go back to a time when I was literally living in the single digits, and it's going to be an absolute blast from the past. I'm pretty sure that the game is probably going to look how about, let's just talk about, one thing that I heard somebody joking around about. It's pretty interesting that when you're advertising a game, that you have to now let people know that there is dual joystick support. If we all remember what it was like to play GoldenEye back in the day on a single joystick and 4 yellow buttons to aim.
It was tough, buddy. It was tough.
Exactly.
To say the least.
Oh
that
my
was me
God.
in Perfect Dark. Oh my God. I can't go back to that now.
Right. But that's the thing. Like, Perfect Dark has been like that fix for everybody. Like, if that was one of the main reasons to go get Rare Replay, was to go get Perfect Dark, not the Perfect Dark, sequel game that was like Perfect Dark 2020 something or something like that. It was the original Perfect Dark game, which was pretty much, I don't care what you say, it was a ripoff of GoldenEye. It was a female character based around the same scope of the game. And I mean, literally the controls were the same. It was just in a different setting. And that was my fix for the GoldenEye bug when Rare Replay came out. And now it's good to see that's gone complete full circle. And we're going to see GoldenEye finally hit the market after all the rumors and debates. Well, does this game exist? Does it not exist? Wasn't it supposed to come out on the Xbox Arcade back in the 360 days? This game has been stuck in an absolute asinine amount of litigation between Nintendo and Xbox. It's good to see that it's finally going to get its day.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Yeah, I agree with you, man, and I can't wait to relive my split screen days back in the single digits for sure.
I don't know. You guys are high.
Eh,
Goldeneye, jeez.
what do you know, Downer?
A whole lot of nothing, I'll tell you that.
Well, I'm glad you agree. Timmy, I know you've been sitting there patient. Did you happen to catch any of the like the State of Play Nintendo Direct? What'd you think of the GoldenEye announcement?
Yeah, I just had to take it off mute. Yeah, no, Nintendo Direct is what it is. I don't really give a shit. I don't watch. To be honest. the GoldenEye thing, I thought it was pretty cool. I wish it had online. A lot of people were like, "Why doesn't Xbox have online? Was it not capable?" Like, it's like, come on, bro. It's like, just put two and two together. You know, it's probably something that like Nintendo said they don't want, or they negotiated with it. If you guys remember, this game was actually supposed to come out on the 360. It was like supposed to come out on a Sunday or something, and it just was like pulled at the last moment. It was pulled because Nintendo had owned the game and they unauthorized it and they wouldn't allow it. So now you're getting the game 4K 60, better frame rate, whatever you want to call it. And you know what? I'm happy with that. To be honest, it would have been cool with the multiplayer. But, you know, being that it's free, it's on Game Pass, and a lot of people have been asking for it. I think it's a pretty cool thing. I'm definitely going to dabble in it. It's going to be on the cloud, too. For me, personally, I like these games that are coming to the cloud. I got a new TV that plays games on Game Pass, and it's really impressive, to be honest. Samsung R95 or B95, I think it is. To the OLED for Samsung, but you know it's impressive for the fact that you just like turn it on and play, and it's pretty much one-to-one experience. I mean, it's not as good, but you know it's doable. So I'm happy that like a game like this comes to the cloud. I can possibly play on my phone, or I can play on my TV, or when I have a little bit of time constraints or I'm away, which have been lately in and out. You know, you'll have you know that option, and that's good. So I was happy with that. I know we're going a little long-winded on the show, but the TGS for Xbox, you know, the feedback I got was like, they did really well in Japan. A lot of people were happy with the show, and you know, a little tidbit: I would not be surprised if after this Activision deal is done, they make a play for SEGA or you know, one of the publishers.
Really, you've been hearing something?
Not that I've been hearing something, but I just think. Here's my ultimate thing. This is what I really, my heart of hearts. If you would ask me what's going to happen, I think once the Activision deal gets done, that's going to be a monumental shift for Xbox. It's going to put them in a real position of power. And I think that they've gotten a little taste of this. And I think that Satya sees the 3 billion gamers. And I think my idea of what's going to go on here, this is really getting ahead of myself, and don't take these words and you know take them to heart, or it's
I
just
will.
it's just my personal opinion, or if I had to see how this plays out, I could see Xbox going on another double down move, making a play for Sega. I see that because Sarah Bond is like really pushing the Japan initiative. They're seeing results there. And they're making some grounds, which for me, I never thought that would ever happen.
Tim, you know what I think about that?
What?
I think there's been a verbal agreement already. I think it's been on.
Well, they're very close. But yeah, if something could happen, that's possible. But if something could happen, I could see Sega. I put that in one of the group chats and I was laughed at, but I'm like, yeah, you guys laughed at Activision too. But I could see Sega, and then that's going to be, that's probably going to be a little bit of tough regulations. Also Japan. People say that this won't get passed because, they don't want that in the country or this and that. They have different laws. All that stuff will be ready at hand for Microsoft and its lawyers. But I could see that happening, and then I honestly can see like Phil retiring in 2025 and Dara taking over. That's where I think this is all headed. I think if Phil gets that move by getting Sega, you can honestly walk away from this and walk into the sunset and say,
I took this legacy's complete, yeah.
Yeah. That's like, listen, you could argue if he gets the Activision deal, he could do that too, which I think he can because you have Blizzard. But, this Activision deal is, it's honestly, I think a lot's riding on it. Microsoft knows it. I think they're feeling confident about it. But, listen, Jeremy, you were there with me in 2017 where basically, we were talking to certain people and the answers that we were getting to where Xbox was going was really grim. And you remember the dinner. We shouldn't say anything more than that, but, it was really grim. And I remember me and you looking at each other and like you're like, oh, this is.
It was the dark times. You remember?
Yeah, it was dark times, but the time is like completely changed. They've done a complete 180 on this, and I think honestly, like Satya, who once didn't believe in Xbox, now is actually an Xbox cheerleader or whatever you want to say. He sees the 3 billion vision. Windows and the things that the other ventures that they've had previously put money into in the past, they're just not there anymore. Like the operating system is dwindling. Everything's going to certain things that they've handled, going to mobile devices and different things than they've usually handled. Obviously, they have the cloud, but I do think that they see the money. They see the sector, and they know they can grow it. And the way they're going to grow it is basically they're in a good position now. They get Activision. They're in a really good position. They get Sega. They're in like a dominant position, and they're where they want to be.
I mean, just on their licensing alone. I mean, just with the studios that they have and Sega's licensing.
Yeah, got it.
Oh yeah. Their back catalog goes back to the 90s. If all that goes on Game Pass in one way or another, that's a game changer.
Or I could see a play for EA, but my sense is like Jeremy said, is that I think that they're definitely really cozy with Sega. You could see that they had the cloud deal where they basically said they're going to work with the cloud division team and they're going to utilize the cloud. And obviously, I think the days of multi-platform, the days of exclusives or then buying publishers for exclusive are over. Anything that they get from now on further is going to be multi-plat. They're just going to basically, they're not looking for exclusivity. I think that they nailed that down with Bethesda. They have Sega basically to fill out PC, cloud, and their games, their IPs,
and Tim, we spoke about this in the past. And when you think of Sega, you got to think about the big picture. Now think about movies. Now thinking about just different revenue streams with merchandise. I mean, just everything that you can do as far as that goes. It brings another business element to Microsoft, which they don't have, by the way, besides, maybe the Halo series and Minecraft and stuff like that. But a different revenue stream for Microsoft, which they could utilize all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just
a global move. It handles it handles Japan. Like it's just like once you get that, then you have Japan on lock. And I mean, obviously, they want to be the player. They want to be the one. And if they get that move, it's very hard to argue against them. They're going to be up there regardless, but they're really making really smart moves, and I think we all see where it's headed. Like I see where it's headed, and that's my honest opinion. I think Activision deal gets done. Even based on Phil's comments that they're not done and they're looking to still. That just means that basically that's hey, the wallet's still open. Satya is still pushing, and listen, for them to get a $67 billion deal. That doesn't happen by Phil just saying, "Hey, I'm gonna play the field." That's CFO Amy and Satya saying, "Hey, Phil, get something done."
And you've seen Sony fan boast about the complications with this deal between Activision and Xbox. Make no mistake, Xbox's lawyers are the best in the world. I'm not gonna be worried about this deal whatsoever. I mean, come on, let's be real here.
They got Brad Smith, who's the one. He's the top guy. And listen, I think that they've laid it out pretty clearly, and I don't think that they're in position to lose. Like if it gets blocked by, Khan, she wants to make a play and just make a statement. That's gonna suck, but they're gonna fight it in court and they're gonna win because they don't have. There's no case to be made here. You know what I mean? The whole thing with him and his comments, everyone's laughing at him. He's talking on two sides of his mouth. He's saying, we can't compete, and then the next day the 7 DLCs and to COD and betas that are this and that, like laughable. Like the leader, they're the ones that boasted we sold 100 million consoles, and we've done this. We're the number one leader. We're dominant. We're 2-1. They've said all these things, and they've always pushed that narrative. And now, big business taking over little corporations. That's not going to fly. You're a big corporation. You've pushed this stuff, and the fact of the matter is that the game is not. They're looking to put Call of Duty on Switch. They're not looking to take it away from PlayStation. They just want to have rolling contracts and obviously protect people there. There's nothing wrong with that.
Negotiating.
Yeah, exactly. They just want whatever comes up in those years or whatever, put it on paper, negotiate it, and have written legal documents. Nothing other than that. Maybe a little bit of money here and there. I don't think it'd be astronomical or something where they're like $2 billion to get caught. It's not gonna be like that. It'll be like you have your little fee and you have this and that, but total agreeable stuff.
Now, does anybody care here that Call of Duty is going to be on other platforms? I mean, nobody cares.
No.
I made peace with that. It'll be like the next Minecraft, as long as it's on Game Pass.
Exactly.
And it'll get the Call of Duty exclusive holiday bundles and exclusive marketing. That in itself is a massive win.
Yeah, exactly.
Listen, Phil out here saying like he said that thing about how he expects less exclusives, right? But you read his thing about that, right? And he's explicitly talking multiplayer. And when you're thinking about if you're going and you want to enjoy any multiplayer game, we'll use Call of Duty as the example here, right? You don't really care what platforms have access to it. What you care about is how active is the player base. How fast am I going to find a match? How good is the matchmaking going to be? How good's my ping going to be to the other players that I did match with, right? And multiplayer games in general are better the more people that are playing, period, right? They're their own kind of platform. I've been preaching this for months now, that multiplayer games themselves are a platform like Game Pass or like Xbox or like PlayStation. And it's not just Microsoft that sees it. They saw it with Minecraft, right? Like, Minecraft is a platform as an entire franchise, whether it be Minecraft proper or Dungeons or the new Legends game coming out, right? It's just everywhere. Because conceptually, that's what they're doing with the IP, right? But, and this is how Call of Duty is going to be. I guarantee it. It's going to be everywhere. It's going to be on every platform. And it's going to be available to purchase wherever they can put it to buy, that enough people are using the store, right? It'll be on Switch. It'll be on PlayStation. And Microsoft's not the only people that see this, right? Yeah. PlayStation saw it as early as 2019 with MLB when they determined it was more valuable to continue to develop MLB but also develop it for Switch and Xbox, because that deal was signed in 2019. MLB made a big public statement of it on Twitter. And then in 2021, last year, we saw the actual fruits of that it's actually launching on Xbox, and this year it launched on Switch as well. And what did Sony just do? What did they do 2 weeks after the Activision Blizzard announcement? They announced that they were buying Bungie, and that Bungie in perpetuity is going to be able to put the games wherever the fuck Bungie wants to put the games, right? Like, there is this concept that is growing in the industry, and it's going to be everywhere, and everyone's going to be abiding by this. That you put multiplayer games as long as their IP isn't tethered to a device. Like, Halo's not going to go everywhere, at least not yet, not for a while. Halo's going to be stuck on Xbox. Why? Because Halo is Xbox, right? Last of Us probably isn't going to come to Xbox, right? That Last of Us multiplayer probably be on PC day one, but it's not going to be on Xbox. But any other multiplayer game that doesn't have this IP tether, gonna be everywhere. Gonna be everywhere. Why? Because we have crossplay. We have Discord coming to every console with voice, right? People just like it's a concept that it's blown a lot of people away because gaming's never been in a situation like this, right? Every platform's connected now. Every platform has these giant digital forever stores, and they're all connected with voice chat and crossplay, because Fortnite and Epic were like, yeah, we're crossplay exists now. Fuck all the platforms, right? We're big enough, we can demand this, right? And so that's where the industry's going. It's going to multiplayer will probably be everywhere, and they're not going to use it as an exclusive benefit to the platform. Why? Because it makes far more business sense to put it everywhere, and then to still feed your platform with Game Pass, because Call of Duty's still going to be on Game Pass, baby.
You know, it's funny you say that, Crusader, because a lot of times I used to think that Xbox was behind the 8 ball and everything that they did. Now I'm eating my own words, watching everything unfold. But you look at the Sony business model and the Nintendo business model, and that was what I was going over. You know, that's the business model that I was thinking about, what worked. And I understand that they've been in business a long time, and that those two companies are successful in their own right. But the future is Xbox. They're in just a supremely better business position than anybody on the market. And Nintendo and Sony are going to be left behind. I'm sorry, but they are going to be left behind. And you know, Tim said it from day one, and I know some of you said it from day one. But that business model is not sustainable. You know, Sony's business model and Nintendo's business model for the future is not sustainable, and Xbox's is. And I think you're starting to see that unfold now. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what the hell Sony's doing. I've asked people, and you know, listen, for them not to have any kind of inkling of a cloud up and running, or the way to play your games accessible on another device other than PC. You know, things that Amazon, Luna, and Google, Stadia, and Xbox, NVIDIA is also doing it. There's other things like apps. For them not to even have any kind of cross functionality with that, it's just bewildering to me. Like, I remember when they had that deal, and it's actually funny because I got a new phone, and the camera roll came up, and one of the camera rolls was where, like, the CEO of Sony and I think Satya were like shaking hands, and it was that deal, and everyone expected it to be, or at least I expected it to be, like, okay, they're going to utilize the cloud for this type of stuff. That was 2-3 years ago. You've seen nothing. Sony's not talked about anything.
Yeah.
I just don't know. I mean,
but you know,
more and more, it just becomes just like more media just to play games and stuff.
Yeah.
Is becoming more and more streamlined, and you know, it's not taking console. But I just don't understand what they're doing. Like, I don't know what their game plan is.
So they're moving slowly. They're doing stuff slowly, right? They're moving to PC, but they don't want to disrupt their business model because they don't have a $2 trillion company back to basically back their transition.
Yeah.
So they're moving to PC slowly. They have the live service games coming. They bought Bungie to make sure that they're going to be good.
5%, yeah, it's going.
Right? And so they're transitioning in a way that they won't fuck up their business model as it is, right? Like they need to transition smoothly. They can't.
In other words, they're trying to stay above water in a lot of ways.
It's they make a lot of money, right? Like it's not like they're dying, right?
They're the leader. They're the leader.
Yeah, they want to transition in a way that they make it there safely and they stay above what they have to stay above, right? But they don't want to sink down. That's the big thing. PlayStation doesn't ever want to sink down again, right? And they did. Remember when the PlayStation 4 launched, for the first 3 years, their profits were in the negative because they had to, in order to recoup the PS3 era. I mean, they ended up at the end of it.
It was really the PlayStation 3 that caused a lot of the problems.
And the PlayStation 4, they sold it at a loss for 5 years, right? You don't see them doing that this time, and you see them acting as a business very safely. Right,
but
because they want the safe transition.
They sold it at a loss, but they were making all the revenue back and profits back.
Yeah, not the first few years. Their division was in the red
on the software. But yeah,
but that was
3 years they were in the red.
They were
very
bad. The beginning of 2013.
Yeah,
they were really smart to harp on, or they jumped on Xbox. They knew they had them, and they did. They got the market share. I remember I talked to somebody and talked at the start of this gen, and they said I looked at the market share that we had going into, the Xbox One to the market share, and it's really kind of got me down because they really lost a ton of generation. UK, I mean, it was 3-1. They're back on their feet and doing well, but still, Sony's in a strong position, strong enough where they can raise the prices and do what they did, but they were really to capitalize on Xbox's gaffes.
Tim, I would disagree with you in the sense that I think Sony knows it's on the ropes. I mean, you could say whatever you want about market share. You could say whatever you want about consoles sold and stuff like that. They're in a panic. You look at all their messaging and the way they react to certain things when Xbox does, and they're nervous about this Activision deal, and they're worried about Call of Duty coming to the PlayStation. They're nervous, and they're trying to do something about it, but in the end they can't because Xbox has all the resources, and they're being reactive instead of proactive about things, and as far as their business model goes. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think that's a fair point. I think Xbox is honestly, they're leveraging their $2 trillion company to the point where now they're fully behind it, and they see an opportunity here, and that's why I said I anticipate another double down deal after Activision, just because of what you said. Sony can't do those type of deals, and I think that they're in a little bit of a caught in a little bit of a hard rock. I don't think it's something where it's something where they can't get themselves straightened out and or still be competitive and or still be the market leader. I just think they need to be a little bit creative. They need to have strong leadership, and they definitely, right now, they have a plan, I'm sure, but I just don't know if the gas is the right thing. I mean, I just know their fan base hates games as a service. They made fun of it for years and years. Any game that was announced that was a games as a service was laughed at and or ridiculed, but
I laughed at it. You remember?
Yeah, I think a lot of people did, but things are changing. But to have 55% allocated, I think that's a little bit of a risk, and also just like the deal with Savage and some of the deals, I think they're trying to compete, but I think Microsoft is honestly making a lot of smart moves and big moves, and this is all what we wanted Microsoft to do. I think from the I remember Zaire saying, "Be the behemoth you could be," and you know, that's basically what they're doing right now. They're being that they're leveraging their leverage. And,
Yeah.
Tim, would you agree that?
I don't want to hear that they're not within their right, because they've been here for a long time, and you know, the business as a whole is consolidating.
Tim, would you agree that in some ways Sony's panicked right now?
It feels that way, but I don't know. I mean, it feels that way. They'd be better off if Jim would just shut up. I mean, Jim really is. I mean, I think that they've had better. I think Jim's a good businessman, but I don't think he's the best public speaker, or he says a lot of things that that don't go well. I mean, I honestly feel the way he surprised me. You know, they're acting like it's a done deal, and it seemed desperate to me, the whole thing. And to try to, you know, put this in public opinion and or try to go where he went with this whole Activision thing blew up in his face. But yeah, that's to me why I feel that they're in a little bit of a desperation mode, because you wouldn't do that unless, you know, if you're in a comfortable position and there's no threat, you're going to just ignore it and let it go. But if you're, you know, frazzled and you don't see a good thing out of this, and or you think a deal can get blocked, they want the deal blocked like no other, because if they get the deal blocked, so it's like a huge sigh of relief. But that tells you that if the deal goes through, that's going to have a big effect on them, and it will. It's gonna. I mean, I think I said from day one. I think Xbox sees this, and that's why it's been a pretty shitty year for Xbox. They really didn't talk after the deal was like everyone's been tight-lipped, and nobody's allowed to comment on it, and we've heard very little. And
they can't.
There's a lot of things there, but and Xbox obviously has the delays and all that stuff that compounded stuff. But 2022 has been a pretty rough year for Xbox, but we all can see what's scheduled for 2023. And if they get the deal, it's gonna be monumental. I think it's gonna be huge. There is a chance though it gets blocked and it goes further on. I'm not gonna say I'm 100% sure. I'd say I'm about 75, 25. It goes through. I do think there is a chance that some bullshit will come down.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know we've kind of been sidetracked from the Tokyo Game Show talk, but that, you know, it's really interesting discussion going on here, you know, with, you know, all the different acquisition talk, because I do think that there's a lot with the SEGA, because I do think that they are going to double down too. Again, back in November, we reported on like a partnership too between the two companies as well, Microsoft and Sega. So there is something there, and I think they've been working on something for a long while, with a verbal agreement. Now,
take us home, baby. Take us home.
Take us home. Oh yes. Now, I just wanted to get like a quick roundup from everybody about the Tokyo Game Show. Shockley, starting with you. Do you have any highlights from it? Did you like anything?
Yeah, it was definitely good to see that they actually got some other cool fighting games back, like Guilty Gear. I think they also got Blaze Blue. I think I saw that one. So it's cool they're getting those back, as well as Street Fighter. Some of these games I didn't think they'd ever be coming to Xbox's way. So I think some of those aren't on Switch, but yeah, they finally got Ni no Kuni. We're finally getting Deathloop as well, and then obviously they re-highlighted Persona 5 Royale coming out here pretty soon to Game Pass, I think this month, or I think maybe October. So that's definitely a good highlight. It's a bummer that they didn't have like any other big announcement. I mean, obviously they probably would have had that at their show earlier. But I am interested to check out the Wolong Dynasty. I don't know if anyone else checked that out yet. I think the demo. demos out. So
I heard
definitely
it
want to
has issues
give
on
that.
Xbox.
Okay,
I heard
but
that it
yeah,
has
definitely would give that.
crashing.
Okay, but yeah, definitely give that one a whirl. I think people are saying it kind of plays or it reminds them similar with Neo, so which similar. Yeah, obviously same dev. So that one's coming out early next year. So definitely want to try to check that. Hopefully the demo runs decent, or I'll try it on PlayStation. Probably has a demo too. So, but yeah, it's good to get some of these more niche titles that hopefully when they come to Xbox or hopefully go right into Game Pass, which is probably the smart play, and not just put them out there and like, hey, you guys didn't buy Ace Attorney. Oh, because most people probably didn't even know it was available to buy in the store. So versus like, you just putting those games in the store and then no one buys them and they're like, oh, okay, there's no one there that, is going to buy these titles. But it's not really giving people a fair chance. So at least putting them in Game Pass, that definitely helps. So people actually can give these a try. So when the next iteration comes around, they can, oh, okay, cool. That game was pretty sweet on Game Pass. Let me actually purchase it when it gets released for their next iteration. So it's good to see him still following up with that, and hopefully, every year or around the Tokyo Game Show or just throughout the year in general, they'll keep announcing more Japanese titles that Xbox tends to get skipped on. So,
yeah, no, I agree with you. It's nice to see a lot of these titles make their way to Xbox. Phil and Sarah Bond doing some really good stuff there with the Japanese content. Let's see, Centurion Pal, I know you've been patiently waiting. Did anything catch your eye with Tokyo Game Show? Any games?
I'll be truthful. I did not really tune in. I always catch it on the highlights for the most part. I'm excited that Deathloop is finally coming around, and that once again we're seeing that it was worth the wait with the Golden Loop DLC with basically a little bit of an extended ending and some other stuff added to the game now. The ironic part is I have the game also on PS5, so it's also going to give me a chance to finally put a game that I own, that I can play on both platforms head to head and really kind of compare the two experiences together. That's pretty much the only thing I'm getting out of the whole Tokyo Game Show thing.
That's a fair comment. I mean, personally,
Hey, I gotta run, so I gotta go pick up the wifey. Anyway, it was nice to be on the show with you guys. Invader, thanks for holding down the ship. You're doing a great job. Crusader General, it's nice to chat with you guys. And Mr. Centurion and Shock and Tim, it's always a pleasure. I miss you guys. I love you guys. And I hope you guys have a good night. We'll
Sending you a mental hug.
You're always welcome here. You always can come on, just so you know. You're always just jump into Discord, come on in. You're always welcome.
Agreed.
Well, have a good night. And again, it was good to hear from you guys. Take care.
Later, fuckface.
All right. Later.
That's Jeremy's way of saying good night. So, but great to see you, Jeremy. Again, you're always welcome here, pal. But yeah, moving on down the list here. General MLD, any announcements at all? Catch your eye from Tokyo Game Show? Any games, or was it the Game Pass stuff or Deathloop?
I mean, my immediate appeal is Deathloop. It's nice to be confirmed that it is in fact coming after the year exclusivity is up. So that's always nice. That would, I mean, you would think it would also apply to Ghostwire Tokyo as well in next March. Otherwise, though, I just want to say it's good. It's clear Xbox, after this acquisition goes through, they got their sights set on Japan. Like, they care about Xbox getting these games. This was a show where they showed like a lot of previous games that released years ago. They're finally catching up. They will not be left behind, and it's clear that they're really taking this seriously. Any future business ventures they do, I think, will be in Japan, and we should all keep an eye out for that.
Agreed. Yeah, I just like the Game Pass announcements overall. Basically, like 95% of the games that I saw had Game Pass attached to it, so there's going to be a chance for me to try them. I got a few of the demos downloaded already. Wulong. I'm really interested in trying that out. And yeah, I preloaded Deathloop already. I really want to get through that. I think it comes out on Tuesday, so I'm looking forward to that. Guys, any other comments before we start signing off? Yes, no?
Yeah, I was just super happy that they got a lot of like ports and remasters. Like, it's not solving the Japanese problem, but like there's a lot of legacy coming, if that makes sense. And there's a lot of variations of devs that are coming. And that Pal World game, the knockoff Pokemon with guns, that shit looks dope. Like,
yeah, it does. Pal
that's
World
great.
looks pretty cool, actually. Not gonna lie. Yeah, I would try that.
I just want to add to one thing, and then I got to sign off because it is late for me. I had asked, and I had asked some people. I wrote a tweet about this, and yeah, like the results of this TGS, they're really positive. They're seeing real momentum, and you know, they're really like. I have to say, Sarah is a driving force here. I think that Phil was good here too, but I think that really good to have Sarah. She's a real big driving force, and yeah, with all that stuff, very positive TGS, one of the best in years, and yeah, for me it was Deathloop. I'm going to definitely play it. And, great show tonight. Jeremy is awesome. Really good to see the heated convos and the different opinions. And, you know, as I think that the show is getting better and better. So good job, guys. And I am signing off.
All right, Timmy. Sounds good. Sounds good. Yeah, but I think on that note, that about wrap things up though for tonight. I know we went a little longer, but a little bit of a larger panel tonight, and yeah, you know what, I gotta say, great lively chat with the gang tonight overall. Like lots of stuff covered, from Bonnie Ross leaving 343. Goldeneye being announced at the Nintendo Direct for Xbox and Switch, along with the latest PlayStation State of Play. We also talked about we touched on the Tokyo Game Show and some other thoughts. But yeah, fun overall. And to all of you that tuned in, hey, thanks for dropping by. We really appreciate it. And if you enjoyed tonight's chat, then please consider leaving a like, sharing this out, and subbing to the channel if you're a new face here, because, hey, we would love for you to stick around, honestly. And yeah, with that being said, over to the outros. And let's see, Tim and Jeremy have left. I'll start off here with Eric Shockley. Buddy, hey, you had some really great viewpoints tonight. Really great talk. Where can everybody follow you at?
Yeah, as always, you can find me at ShockNero on Twitter, Easy Shock on Xbox Live. But yeah, good. I think this was the most packed we've been in a while. So, but definitely great to have everybody all on at once. But yeah, good topics today. Good show.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Hope we see more of Downer too. Let's see. Moving on down here, Centurion, buddy. Again, I thought you had a hell of a show. Tonight as well. Some really strong points. Where can everybody follow you?
Thank you, gentlemen. It was a great discussion. Definitely, we all went all different directions, and it was just great to hear everybody's opinions. Definitely, for those interested in finding me, you can find me at Centurion1307, Xbox, YouTube, Twitter, all that fun stuff. You can also find me here every Sunday night, and you can also find me over on Gaming Beyond the Box with Wilmy Hood and them every Wednesday night.
All right. Short and sweet. I like that. Moving on down here, Crusader, buddy. Again, you had one stellar show as well from amongst the cast. Where can everybody follow you?
Hey, you can find me at Crusader3456 on basically everything, you know. Just vibing. I'm covering as best I can these GTA 6 leaks, but I can't like post anything because like I'm not getting DMCA. Don't post anything, people. Don't post pictures. Don't get yourself DMCA'd here. That's my word of wisdom for tonight. Don't get yourself DMCA'd because Rockstar will. But yeah, it was a great show with everyone tonight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I agree with him, guys. You know, be careful sharing stuff out. Rockstar is they get pretty heavy-handed at times, so when that hammer strikes, better watch out. And
They're a lawyer group that happens to make games.
yeah, it just happened to. Yeah. And let's see here. General MLD, buddy. Really solid show from you as well, as per usual. Where can all these fine people follow you at?
Yeah, you can guys can find me at MLD Ghost on Twitter, Ghost MLD on Xbox Live. It was a great chat, a lot of it was good atmosphere and good topics, and let's just see what next week brings us. Let's see where this GTA thing plays out.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. And depending what happens, in the news cycle for starting tomorrow into next week. Yeah, I mean, I would like it to be a topic, but we'll see what pops up. But yeah, guys, to round out the crew, you can find my content on YouTube at Invader Gaming. Also, check me out on the Bluebird app at Invader_1986. Really fun show tonight, and yeah, we'll catch you later on the next one. Later, everyone.